All right, good evening. The time is now 6 o'clock. We'll call this county council meeting November 11th to order. Begin with an invocation by Vice Chairman Carroll, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Father, we thank you so much for this day we've been given. Thank you for the opportunity we had this morning as we honored our veterans at a new veterans monument. It's truly a blessed day in Lawrence County. Lord, we ask that you would be with us tonight as we do the business of Lawrence County, as we answer our citizens, as we do the things that we should to uplift your kingdom here on earth. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
First is approval of the agenda. The agenda has first by Ms. Bryant and second by Ms. Coleman. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, approve the minutes from October 28th, Committee on Health and Emergency Services, the regular session on October 28th, as well as committee as a whole on September 23rd. Approved. Motion by Ms. Clark, second by Mr. Chair. Are there any additions or deletions to the minutes? Here now, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 28th, regular session October 28th, Committee on Health and Emergency Services, as well as September 23rd, committee as a whole, please raise your right hand. 5-0. All right, so next, Lawrence County Council. You and your horse might.
No, this time, yeah.
All right. Coleman's here. I have one, and Mr. Coleman, I'm calling you at some point. Or you feel free to jump in at any point. Sorry. Tax bills went out last week in the mail. Everybody got them. I'm sure that's why several of you are here this evening. So we did go through and try to put together somewhat of a presentation to kind of help explain some of the tax bills and where the changes came in, because they came from different places depending on whether you live in the county or the city or Greenville School District. There's several different areas that would have caused your tax bill to change in different manners. And to be honest, we're going to focus mainly on what this council has authority over. I will not speak for any school district or any of the municipalities here locally on that. So we will jump in, and everybody's the screen right here should be the right one. All right. So Mr. Coleman, his office does a great job. The auditor's office every year they submit a millage sheet, and glad to provide copies of those as needed. But it goes through all the millage from all the different agencies. As you can see, there's a plethora of different groups, different school districts, whether you live in city limits, outside the city limits, depending on which fire district you reside in. There are several things. The highlighted in red are the items that this county council has purview over. And I'll read them. General budget, EMS, capital, reserve fund, the capital improvements fund, as well as the millage for colleges in our community and the fire districts. We also assess the solid waste fee and the road fee on the county vehicles in this county. Other items on this list, you've got school districts, Each school district assesses their own millage and their bond millage. You have water sewer, who assess a bond millage for improvements. You have municipalities. Each one assesses their own operation millage as well as fees, public works fees and so forth. And then of course, the hard job comes in with our county auditor's office, and they assess the loss factors, with the assistance of the treasurer, as well as the bond millage needed to be collected to cover the GO bonds that might currently be issued. So here's a breakdown, and at the end, I'll put this spreadsheet back up so you can assess where your numbers are. While I'm looking at it. So those are the items that county can have control over: general budget, EMS capital, reserve fund, capital improvements, education, fire. You can see in this column right here, those are the items that we changed by county council this year. And if you look across the table, which, like I said, I'll post this later, and I'll post county and municipal limits. Based on the value of your house, you can see how much your taxes went up by the millage change with county council. Roughly, going to do rough numbers, for every $100,000 is $15. So if your house is worth 150, you're looking at $22.44. So we can by the penny tell you and tell you where it went. It can be how much went to EMS, how much went to sheriff vehicles, how much went to scholarships for college kids, how much went to the fire department. So we can pull your tax bill, and I can tell you by the penny where your money went from the county council increase. But we will walk through the bill. The easiest way to compare it, I know everybody has a paper bill they probably just got, but online is probably the quickest way to go. So I have a few random bills. We'll go through different ones. But what you're looking for is the appraised value, which is the value of your house. Everybody in your owner occupied is going to be assessed at 4%, which gets us to the assessment dollars. So if you take your total assessed tax dollars, 2180 on this particular one, and you multiply that by the full out millage, which is the top line. So that includes county council, that includes bonds, that includes water sewer, that includes school district, that includes fire, that includes everything that you could be assessed in that top line. And then what happens is things start coming off, as well as fees. So $65 on all your countywide is your solid waste fee, and then any exemption. So the residential exemption is going to be your rebate from the school districts. You're looking at owner occupied. One we'll get to in a little bit. If it's non-owner occupied or businesses, you do not get a credit there. If you qualify for homestead, you also see a reimbursement on the homestead exemption, as well as other exemptions. What would go here is something like disabled military. It is Veterans Day, so if you're disabled military, you can get a credit on your county taxes, and it would be in that line. And then, of course, your local option credit, which is that one of the extra pennies you pay when you buy groceries at the grocery store, cheeseburger, whatever you're buying, you get that extra penny that goes to this credit. And then that, all of those numbers added and tallied, get you to your final tax bill. So we'll take this exact one. This was, this property is assessed over $50,000. Here you can see where the changes were. So the increase from the county millage raised this person's taxes $12.51. Their loss factor from the previous year went down $99, which caused their tax bill as a whole to go up 102. Now, once again, that county tax line has lots of stuff in it besides just this group up here. So we broke it down to show what is effective. So a little better than $50,000 assessment. Our appraisal caused their taxes to go up to $8.15 based on the votes from county council during the budget this year. And to give you an idea, because everybody's properties are different values, this is a tax bill, or I'm sorry, stop. So this is city of Clinton. So once again, if you live in city, your taxes are going to be a little bit different. I see several folks in here that live inside of municipal limits. So once again, this house is appraised around 130, gets you to your assessed value of 5240. But on this bill versus the last one, you'll see city taxes. That's the biggest difference between the last one that was shown, as well as the fee. So different cities charge different fees. In Clinton, if you live there, your fee is $85, and that's $65 from the county, as well as $20 from the city of Clinton. Here you'll see This person's bill changed $23 from the county's bill, $14.15 from the city's, as well as their loss decreasing by $312, increase their entire bill as a whole $349. So once again, the city's going to be a little different. So the county council portion of that $23 was $12.53. So you can see how it adjusts. And once again, I'll stay here all night. Anybody that wants me to look at there specifically, I'll be glad to walk you through your bill and we can see where the changes happened. But here's just a few more. So this is roughly $350,000 property in the county. As you can see their tax total went up $609. County portion that was $79. But what county council did cost them $52, and you can see once again, $6.67 with the EMS, $1.81 with the EMS capital, so on and so forth, down the line. Here is one inside the municipal limits of Lawrence. As you can see, total tax bill went up $680. You can see, once again, I mentioned fees are different. Lawrence fees, if you live in Lawrence, a $253 fee, as well as city taxes. The county portion of that $680 increase was $0.36. And once again, you can see, so the difference between the city and the county is if you live inside the city limits, you do not pay towards the fire budget. So that's why, even though this property and property before are roughly the same value, where the previous property in the county was $52 impact, this one inside the city is only a $32 impact from county council because of fire budget. And here's an example. We're always concerned, obviously, about our small business owners. This is a small business in the county. You can see where their tax bill went up $411, and the difference is this sheet, the assessment ratio. So they're at 6%. There's no fees. There's no residential exemption or any homestead exemption allowed on those properties. But once again, out of the 411, the county's impact on that tax bill is $42.67. So that's basically a quick rundown. And once again, here's that formula again. So if you know how much your house roughly is valued at by tax purposes, you can kind of gauge in here what taxes you're going to be paying in addition to last year. I'll leave this up for folks in the audience that are looking at it and some rough calculations.
Brian, let me,
Yep. Are you ready?
yeah, just let me, I hope everybody can hear me. What the difference is in the loss factor. If you go and look at your tax bill from 2 years ago and look at that loss factor, it's the same as it is this year. Last year, we had a surplus. Cindy, the treasurer, had built up a surplus in that lost account. So you go back and look, and everybody got a tax break last year. The biggest difference in your tax bill this year, that loss factor was here, got a credit, made the tax bill go down, and this year it's back up here.
We don't believe that. That's what we keep hearing. But 2 years ago, my tax bill was a number. Last year, my tax bill was about a 7% increase. This year, my tax bill's a 440% increase.
Something else making it go up besides that. You'd have to come by and we'll look at your tax bill. But the biggest difference in everybody in Lawrence County, their taxes, it goes back to that local option sales tax. We voted on that 15 or 20 years ago. And everybody pays us a penny extra sales tax. All that goes back to the property to reduce your property tax. County, some years, they can take 29% of it, but very seldom does that ever happen. 100% of it goes back on your tax bill. That money goes to Columbia, they send it back, and then we have to put a factor on there to make sure it goes back to everybody. The cities get some. If you live in the city, you get a local lot and sales tax relief on your tax bill. So whatever comes in on that 1 cent sales tax goes back to the.
So what is the loss? People aren't buying things in our county?
No, lost option sales tax. Local option sales
Okay.
tax. Just like several years ago, they
So
voted
it's
in.
not, what I'm not getting is if we had it before, do we not have it? We're not having that money?
Oh, it's there, yeah. It's at a level like this and we factor every year. And then over time, we had a surplus in that account.
So they gave it away.
So we gave it
To us.
back to the taxpayers. This year, if you look at it, that factor is back to where it was about 2 years ago.
And there is no surplus this year, is what you're saying.
No, we tried to send it back. It's kind of guesswork when you're trying to get that factor to be able to get it, send it back. Sometimes, it'll build up and not our money, it's taxpayers' money, so.
This is a bad year for an increase in taxes.
Yeah, well, but you got a break last year.
Ours
Gotta
went
break
up
Yeah.
32%.
So I was told it was the same. I called up, I'm a new building here, I've been here 15 months. Love the town, love the small town feel. So I was taxed on land alone at first, I guess, in 2023. Now, they estimated my taxes at X amount of dollars. I went on to the estimator that you can go online, you have the estimator. I was told everything was wrong, but the estimator is still calculating it. It's up $1,200. I know what you're saying, that it goes by the value of your house, but $1,200 from what they told me, and they tell me it's a mistake, and then they want to know where I moved from. That shouldn't have any impact on where I moved from, and they said, I'm sure it's cheaper here than wherever you moved. That's not-
You had land,
One land that I
and then
built on.
and then you built on it.
So.
That increases the value.
Oh, yeah.
That increases the
I have
value.
just land.
Yeah.
32 acres, been 32 acres, one building, been one building. 22, my taxes was $522. What I keep hearing about this law, last year my taxes was $583.
The value of your property changed, something that,
This year, my taxes is $2,577. That's a 440% increase.
you would need to come, you need to come to our office.
Yeah, that
Or the
doesn't make
assessor's
any
office.
sense.
It's based off of assessed value. Now the one unfair part about.
So did we do a reassessment this year on
I
property?
just, no,
No.
that's
So it
why I'm
can't be
saying,
a
that's why I'm saying yours may be a mistake. It
Oh.
shouldn't increase that.
I own 30 properties in Lawrence. Some between city and county. Overall, my tax increase is 35%.
Have to go back now, what we're talking about 2 years ago,
I have looked and none of mine is that case.
but,
Every property that I had in 22, my taxes increased in 23,
you just need to come and check, and
34%.
sometimes your property, and do anything to your property, it can go up. They can reassess it.
When they
It
reassess,
doesn't have to be a reassessment here. If you
Understand.
buy additional property or build a house or whatever, it
understand.
goes. And that is the unfair part in South Carolina. It happened about 12, 15 years ago. When you have reassessment, your property cannot only go up 15%. So if you stay in your house a long time, the value of your house is not what you've been actually taxed on. Because it's capped out. The reason it happened that way was all the people that had these big houses on the coast. And when they did reassessment, they got it's 15% cap every 5 years. So, but you come
All
out of
all that adds up, that it can't be 34, 36%.
It shouldn't
one
go
year.
up. It shouldn't go up like this. Something changed. So just come by the office. We'll be
I
glad.
gotta ask,
That's a good-
was there a mistake in the system from last year?
No,
I was being
No.
told that by the office, by the tax.
if it was one of my girls, they spoke wrong. It was not a miscalculation. We gave back money that had to go back to the taxpayers. This year, that credit is not as high, so the tax bill goes back up.
And that
line
surprises
item
me,
bill?
the cost of inflation is hard.
If you go back and
That number.
look at your tax bill from 2 years ago and see what that loss factor is. Say it was $100. Last year, you maybe got $200. This year, it's back to $100 credit. Now, but some of them are large. It depends on what the tax bill is. That credit is based on the value.
I understand, I
So-
understand.
So,
Mine went down a little bit last year.
yeah,
It's a new house for us, but from 2 years ago, this year would have been a 20% increase over not last year, but the year before.
well, there have
40%
there have been
increase
some-
over last year.
increases. That's what Chairman Patterson trying to tell you. Taxes did go up a little bit, not much, but when you take that credit and put that tax increase, that's, you know,
Alright, so I've been in mine for over 10 years. No changes to the house whatsoever. Got a 47% increase in the last year. It's
I have to tell you, just come by the office, we'll be glad to look at it. All of it's based on your assessed value.
Then that means you're gonna have half of Lawrence County over at your office.
Yeah.
And
That's
you're
our
gonna-
assessed value.
But it can't be, can it? Because we didn't have a reassessment last year. It would have to be only on properties that somehow or another upgraded, whether it be added.
Your property, if you did something to your property, make it reassess. Then that would make the tax, you go to a new value.
Understand, but as far as the reassessment last year, Lawrence.
You have reassessment every 5 years. Correct. It's coming 2 years from now. 2 years from now. So if your property didn't change, now the taxes went up a little bit. Not much. That's what you're trying to say.
That was the $12 to $14.
All that, yeah, yeah. And all that's on your tax bill. If you look on your tax bill. Now, what most people don't realize, when you got 4% property, that's the house that you live in. State sends back all the school operating part. That's a big credit on your tax bill. That comes back from the state. If you didn't have that, everybody really would be up in arms. But if you,
I just think it's something that you're overlooking here, because half of Lawrence County is like. I mean, I don't know if you get on Facebook, but if you get on the Lawrence County Facebook.
I was on county council 24 years. And anytime taxes go up, the tax bills go up, people get upset about it.
400%, I can assure you.
But most of the ones I look at 2 years ago and this year, very similar. And you got a little increase, but if it's more than that, please come and see us. I mean, that's all I can tell you.
So
We're talking a grand difference between last year and this year.
Well, last year you got,
I understand.
depending on what the credit was.
because-
Now, some people got credit of $1,000 or
could
$2,500.
it go up another grand next year?
No,
Why?
not unless the taxes change.
Yeah, but what they're
The
saying,
local option sales tax is money that people in Lawrence County, being in Lawrence County. Now, you got interstate out there. When people stop at the interstate, buy gas, pay that penny, that comes back property tax, really.
So we're getting credit for somebody that's traveling down the road.
That's right. It helps.
Not me.
But
Yeah, we don't get a lot of tourists.
people that go spend their money in Greenville or Greenwood, they're not helping themselves on property tax, really. Maybe a small amount, but that,
But from what the chairman said, based on assessed value of a home, 150,000, 250,000, it seemed reasonable. Okay, nobody's here for $20 because it went up $20. My taxes went up a lot. I wouldn't be here for $20. My taxes went up $1,200. Yes, I'm a new build. Yes, I'm in the city line. But you know what? From what I was told, estimated, when I called the office, because I wanted to know, I'm a new build, so I gotta know what I'm putting out to everybody. I'll tell everybody, they told me $3,200 and now my tax bill is 4,400 and change. And when you did the calculated, the estimator, they told me that was wrong too, and that came up at $3,200. You're telling me there was no mistakes. So I'm in a dilemma now.
It goes back, you get the correct assessed value. Your property's changed. You had property, you built a house on it. And it depends on when it goes on the tax book. But you're taxed on what you own first day of the year. You know, you buy a house in June, you don't work it out with the buyer. Person that owns the house owes the taxes for that year. You're taxed on what you own on January 1, December 31st, January 1.
Well, in my case, nothing's been changed in over 10 years. Why would mine have 47% difference in it?
What's, I can't answer that. It has to be, the only thing that's changed as far as we're concerned or dealt with is the loss factor.
I mean, y'all send the bill, I don't, yeah, I know. I'm just
Well,
saying, like you said, I wouldn't be able to complain about $20. 47%, that's kind of a lot.
Well, what was your tax bill?
Huh?
What was your tax bill?
On my house was, 1,800 something dollars.
It went up 47%. It shouldn't happen. That should not happen, I can tell you.
So, well, first, there's a few anomalies, it sounds like.
Yeah.
In the room. I strongly encourage you to go by the office, because some of it sounds like it could be an assessed problem. Some of it sounds like it actually, two of them sound like assessed problems, and then maybe a not a miscalculation, but a factor issue, but there's kind of a look at it to see, because I mean, how many tax bills you send out, 33,000 roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. But I encourage you with it, you either call or come by and you have a look at them. Like I said, council will answer for anything we had to do with it. But
Hill Press Square. The next building up there. Don't everybody come in tomorrow.
Be ready.
You might want to go ahead.
I mean, we've been getting calls. I mean, we've been getting calls. But we want to be fair. I mean, this, and when we have to, we go through and check them. We have a company out of Spartanburg that does the tax bills. We feed all the information into them. They're the ones that processes it, and they're the ones that mail it out.
So how are you checking though? If you're just looking at it, having someone explain to us, or how are you?
It's on our
checking
system.
them?
It's on our system. I mean, they're the ones that do it. I mean, we don't have, county does not have capability unless we invest a lot of money in computer systems, print all that up. So it's, you do.
Well, I understand that,
We-
but like I
we
said, I don't,
Sub it out to do
like
that.
this gentleman said, he called and they said this. I don't want to have someone just regurgitate what I'm.
Well, when
I would like to know.
you're trying to estimate somebody's bill and you don't know exactly what the value is, exactly where they live sometimes, a lot of factors go in,
So
and
basically, your
it's very
suggestion is
easy.
go to the
to
office.
They
make.
gave me a value.
Yeah.
They gave me a value. I got houses next to me that are nicer than mine, and they're valued at like $200,000-$300,000 less. So, and they paid $1,200-$1,400, and I'm at.
That goes back, that can go back. Everybody's property is not assessed exactly the same.
Maybe
goes
maybe
back.
the assessors, maybe some other guy.
It depends on when you move in. When you add a room, do something to it, you know, I've lived in my house 40 years. So it's been through a bunch of reappraisals. But starting in 2002, I believe, it can only go up 15% every 5 years. So if somebody comes in and buys that house, they're gonna pay the true value. So taxes aren't, that part of it is not fair across the board in South Carolina. Because your neighbor may be paying more than you are, or you may be paying more than him, based on how the house, when it was bought, and how many reassessments been through.
And is reassessment done like we bought during a high period? So I understand all that when we moved, but the market is now leveling out, and if the market were to change, when during a reassessment.
They go on market value.
It will go down, and that's what you're asking.
It
Last time we had
wasn't high in your neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying, as the market
Yeah.
levels out.
We got a tax assessor's office. They got 7, 8 people working in there. You go on, they go look up to see what property has been sold in that area. So they're not gonna compare a house on the lake with a house in Aura or whatever. It's all based on property values in your area. So, but most people, the assessed value they're paying is less than the value of their house. You'll look at your tax bill, and the assessed value is a whole lot less than what the actual market value is. So. Any other questions? Nobody likes
your office?
Hillcrest Square. But I've been doing this stuff on different angles for a long time. Nobody likes tax. Unfortunately, I was in the insurance business too, and nobody likes the insurance.
Be glad you're not. Straight
Did you sell used cars?
Council, any council have any questions? Thank you for the information.
And I will say this. County council is the one that sets the taxes, except on a bond issue. And the treasurer and myself had to make sure we set on the bond part, we had to make sure we have enough money coming in, to pay the payment on that bond every year. So it's changed maybe $1 million from last year to this year, so we'd have enough money to pay that. I think there are 2 or 3 issues that are out there, one of them fixing to roll off, so that should be leveling off.
Thank you, and once again, there's those of you that have some major anomalies, I strongly encourage you to go to the assessor or the auditor's office. And once again, folks, if you have a question, I'll be here afterwards. I'll stay until the last person leaves, and we'll pull it up, see what it looks like, and at least point you in the right direction if we can't answer the question. But I'll be glad to do that after the meeting this evening. Any other reports? Anyone? We'll move into public comments. The first is Nancy Garrison.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Let me speak tonight. So I don't know what to do. It was pretty good. Anyway, I was gonna speak to the fireworks ordinance. I really appreciate, what y'all did. I think that was a very smart move to a resolution maybe to this, that, and if I'm understanding that, I was out of town at the last meeting. If I'm understanding it correctly, so you would actually have to have your property in that zone or, and if people don't do that, then it's not gonna affect anybody else or that kind of stuff. Am I understanding that correctly?
Oh, the county attorney.
It actually creates 2 different ways that you can protect your property from fireworks. If you're confining livestock, it automatically sets a 1,200-foot buffer. The other way is it mimics state law in which you can create a fireworks prohibited zone. So if you don't want someone shooting fireworks near your vicinity or into your vicinity, you can file a form with the sheriff's office that designates your property as a fireworks prohibited zone.
Okay.
So there's 2 different mechanisms by which you can control fireworks.
Okay. I thought it was a good resolution to what I was coming for and trying to protect. I mean, it's had a new baby calf born this morning and they want to have it right up on that fence line. And, and it is, I know, Ms. Rankin had made reference to the state law, but the state law is if it comes over and something happens, then you can do something about it. We're trying to prevent that from happening with what we've got going on up in our area. And, I had somebody else come for a lesson and said they were over in Woodruff and just a small development was across the road from them, and they actually had to sedate one of their horses, not even one of their young horses, and I've got a baby coming next year and everything else, and so I'm thankful that it moved on, to this second reading. I hope it continues to move on, because we're just looking for that protection for them, and and I'm more than willing to put our property in that kind of thing with the sheriff's department to help protect us. It's not like we moved there and we're asking for this, we've been there and everything else is moving in around us. And we really appreciate it, just hopefully will continue to go forward. And thank y'all for your work and changing it to where hopefully it can be conducive for everybody. So thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Up next, Mr. Robert. Putnam.
I'll decline. I think my part's already been, my part's already been discussed.
All right, then we will move into old business. Any council submissions for boards, commissions, or committees this evening? All right, here none, we'll move on to second reading of ordinance 976, the fireworks ordinance. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve on second reading.
Motion by Mr. Carroll.
Yeah.
Second by Ms. Clark. We'll now open the floor for discussion. Is there any discussion amongst the council? Now, at the previous meeting, I appreciate the sheriff coming out and requesting the sheriff to stop by. Because I know Mr. Rankin expressed concern before too. My first concern one is obviously property rights. Telling somebody they can't shoot fireworks on their property in a rural area is going to be hard for my district. I argue that my district is probably the most heavily agricultural with animals, I think, in the county. There's a lot of forests and other things, but as far as number of property owners with animals, I'd say District 4 probably takes that leap. But I have, Sheriff, if you don't mind, I have a few questions about the implementation of it. I'm also concerned with how that'll work for you. If we can imagine a 4th of July evening, you running 4 deputies, 5 deputies at night now.
We have 6. We
So, that's actually great news. That's much better than I thought it was. So you got 6 guys on the road. If you got a DUI one place, you got a fight breaking out at a party, and somebody calls because their neighbor shot a firework. And granted, we also had a case earlier this year where somebody shot a firework at an animal, which is a whole other instance. But what's the capacity of the sheriff's office to enforce this the way it's written?
I appreciate what you've touched on is convenience. There is no convenience to law enforcement. Little people. I know all y'all have an opinion and I have one in everybody's room, but the bottom line, this is not a complex thing. I guess I'm of the thing, and I want to do what I want to do, and I pay my taxes, and I'm mad about my tax bill too. If you pay your taxes, there has to be a happy thing. There's people right here, I'm gonna hush, I'm gonna say, since I'm up here, these people are like any people, they've been there for a long time, they invest their money, their time, their heartache, their love for these animals to make a living. Now, when this was decided to put all these houses in here, hey, okay, go for it, build you a Taj Mahal, have a good life and have a good time, but these people shouldn't have to lay down and suffer because of it. Now, you say, well, everybody's got a right, go right back, hey, listen, I've been in enough complaints to say, hey, I got a right to do this. Yeah, they got a right not to put up with. You can't run over. There has to be a happy medium. So it's easy to stand here and say, hey, we got people all over this county like to shoot fireworks. That ain't right. But it ain't right for these people to have all this investment for all these years. And they raise these animals. They sell these animals. Yes, it's a living too. But they also have a love for it. And just because they decide to sell the land and build houses, they shouldn't have to just sacrifice their well-being and their love of their animals. It's not complex. It's just a matter of standing up for something or laying down for about anything. And I don't do that real well, as you know that, sir. I don't understand why it's so complex that you can't say, hey, look, we're gonna have a border here. And if these people down the other end of the county, they want to pursue this for their livestock or horses, I don't know how many people actually have the investment they have. I'm not supposed to, I don't guess. But if they want to pursue a protection, then hey, that's what we're here for, to serve and protect. And you know what? I'm gonna stand up for the people because you know what? Every one of y'all sitting there, if we call the police, if y'all felt like y'all needed help, and you should. And especially if you feel like that you're getting pushed a little hard. Well, that's like, in some cases, that is what happens, whether we like it or not. And the amount of racket that's made, or the amount of people that wanna do something shouldn't push our decision. You stand up for the little man too sometimes, and I'm not saying this is little man, but just because there's less racket to be made for these people over here, ain't no reason to do this over here. So I believe in, if y'all pass this on this second, third reading, we will do what we need to do like we always do. By the grace of God, I'm surprised every week what we can do with the forces we have to do with. They make me proud every week. And we'll stand up for this. I'll stand up for y'all's rights, and I'll stand up for these people's rights, and we'll push on. But rights, right? It ain't always easy. That's why y'all get to make all these important decisions. It ain't easy. I know it ain't. I don't need to be having to make them, but I know that it's not easy to walk away from it either, because it's got to live with it.
And that's why I wanted your opinion, Sheriff, because I've been on the end of a
Y'all
5-minute response, and I've been on the end of a 50-minute response.
Well, y'all put it in place, and we'll enforce. Thank you.
Recap on this, for those that might not be familiar with it. Things it does is create a fire prohibited zone within 1,200 feet of a livestock housing facility, fenced area containing livestock. That does not include pastures that are empty. It specifically says where a fenced area actively containing livestock must be 1,200 feet away, or seek permission from the property owners to control the property within 72 hours in advance of the fireworks being shot. It also establishes, or honestly mimics, what's already on the books at state law, where somebody can file with the sheriff's department, basically a protection zone around their property, if they so desire. Are there any other questions, comments from council?
Mr. Chairman, you already alluded to the fact that I brought up my concerns with this ordinance from day one. This is something I've brought to my committee. I won't belabor this. I've already regurgitated my positions on this ordinance a few times. I'm not at all opposed to making sure livestock is protected. The means in which we go about doing that, I just disagree with the philosophy that we're taking as council. And again, with caution council for moving forward with this, simply because, for one, I am a property rights advocate as well. And yes, you do have to be responsible for what you do on your property. But I do feel like, and I mentioned this last meeting, that state code 23-35-175, as outlined in this ordinance, already gives property owners the protection that they so deserve. And they can file with the sheriff's office now, even without this ordinance, to make their property fireworks prohibited zone. And if someone does violate that on your property, well, they are subject to face the consequences of state law. And the sheriff's office can enforce that with what is already dictated in state law. So just, as I said last time, where I live, I'm in a pretty rural part of the county. I would have to get permission from at least 5 to 10 property owners to fire fireworks on 4th of July, even though I could do it very safely from where I am. 1,200 feet is a nearly quarter-mile radius from my home. I don't have time to get permission from 5 to 10 different people to shoot off fireworks on 4th of July. So I don't think anyone else here has the opportunity or the time. And what are you going to have is you're going to have at least one of those 5, 10 people say, no, you can't. And according to this ordinance, you wouldn't be able to just because of one person, even if they're 1,200 feet away. So again, I have problems with this. I would like us to see the sheriff's office adopt the state code with people in the audience who have issues with fireworks. Let's take that route first. Let's at least try it. I haven't really seen much of an effort from people to adopt that, or at least try it first. I'm a big advocate for try it, don't work. Let's go back to the drawing board, but I haven't even seen that yet. So I'm opposed to the current makeup of the ordinance. I will be voting in opposition tonight. I would encourage my fellow council members to at least consider what I had to say tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of second reading on ordinance 976, fireworks ordinance, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 3-2. Council Patterson and Rankin in opposition. All right, up next we have new business. I will call on county administrator for the payroll schedule for 2025.
Thank you, sir. Both subsection A and B under item number 9, new business, or the formalities we go through every year to adopt the county's payroll schedule as well as the holiday schedule. You all have copies of those. We're not adding or taking away any new holidays. We're not changing our payroll schedule from what it currently is. This is just for the upcoming calendar.
All right, let's start with payroll schedule. To approve the payroll schedule for 2025 as presented. Have a motion. Second, Carol, second by Mr. Rankin. Is there any discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Subsequently, the approval for the 2025 holiday schedule. Clark. Second by Carol. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. I will say today is a holiday for our employees, and I appreciate those of you that are here tonight and that worked hard today to put on our program on your day off. That is greatly appreciated. All right, up next, we have approval of resolution 2024-33, which is Project Ponderosa. I'll call on our president. Brief on that.
Thank you, sir. So this is another one of these solar farm projects that we've had several of them. This was being done by Duke Energy. Very similar to the one we did earlier this year. And the agreement is the same as the one we did earlier this year. And then the revenue on this one would be $150,000. In the first 10 years, $237,000, in the second 10, and then $325,000. And then the next, three things on the agenda to deal with that, and then put the multi-county industrial park addition is putting the Otagon part of the disbursement funds is that also.
Any questions? Are there any questions from council on Project Ponderosa? Hearing none, I'll call first for a motion on approval resolution 24-33, which is the inducement agreement for Project Ponderosa. Motion by Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Rankin. Is there any discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. All right, up next, we have first reading on the ordinance for 973, which is the Project Ponderosa Kilo. Motion to approve on first reading, ordinance 973.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Rowan, second by Ms. Clark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 973 on first reading, please raise your right hand. That one, first reading on is 974, and then Otagon Industrial Park to add Project Ponderosa. So I will motion to approve ordinance 974 on first reading.
974, adding to Otagon Industrial Park line.
Motion by Carol. Third, second by Ms. Gillis. Is there any discussion on adding Project Ponderosa to the Otagon Industrial Park? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, I'll call on the attorney for resolution 2024-44, establishing Lawrence County Citizens Task Force land use and zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a follow-up resolution to our discussion after executive session. Last council meeting that establishes the Lawrence County Citizen Task Force for Land Use and Zoning. This is an advisory task force that will conduct research, hold public hearings, and then report back to council with their findings, at which time the task force will be dissolved. The makeup of the task force will be 2 members of Lawrence Residents for Quality Rural Living LLC, and then a member from each individual district will be appointed by the county council. And those guys will get to work as soon as the resolution is passed.
All right, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-44?
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Garrett.
Second.
Second by Ms. Rowland. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. I'd ask county council members to get their recommendations into Ms. Knopf's at their convenience as well. I'd ask for that's to reach out to the Lawrence Residents for Quality Rural Living and get their 2 appointees. That's all the new business that I have. Next, we have county council comments. I'll start on my right, Ms. Clark.
Just say, happy Veterans Day to all and all of them who have served. We thank you for your service, all of everything you have done for us. To everyone that was or wasn't there at the ceremony today, it was beautiful. I thank everybody that had hands in that. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful park. If you hadn't been by there, go by and visit. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And thank our Parks and Recs for that, who had hand in that. And also, as we know, Thanksgiving is approaching. I just ask everybody be safe, be careful, be blessed, and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. You took the words right out of my mouth. Today's ceremony, the Veterans Day ceremony at the new Monument Park for our veterans was very touching, very amazing. And the work that's been done out there by our Parks and Rec department, just awesome stuff. And if you guys haven't had a chance to go out there by the library, all the monuments have now been unveiled. Take time, take your kids, take your grandkids there, teach them a little bit about history, our different branches of government, different branches of the military, and just see what kind of work gets done around here. And also just wanted to say, guys, for one, it's great to see a lot of new faces tonight. And obviously, the reason why you're here might not be the reason you wanted to be here. But I will say this, a lot happens in your local government, and you need to be an informed people. And I keep advocating, everyone that calls me on the phone with a constituent concern, I always just invite them like, hey, come by the county council meeting, see what goes on, see what happens. And there are some of you that do come every single meeting. I appreciate that. But there's a lot of things that are going on, even just talking about fireworks ordinance and things that affect our everyday life. It's important to know whatever side you're on with that. I mean, it's just good to know what's going on so you can tell your neighbors and make sure people are informed of what's going on in our county. Because we're a county that's on the move. There's a lot of good things that are happening. But that means that with that comes a lot of change. And so we need to make sure that we're aware of what's going on. And I just appreciate them coming out tonight. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone has a safe holiday. Spend time with your family. Thank God for your many blessings. We are blessed. And with that, I'll end my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Carroll.
Maybe. I will echo that the memorial this morning, we have something very, very special, something you should be proud of. So if you get an opportunity to go by the library site and see that Veterans Memorial, you'll be proud of that. So that is something that was paid for, a project with the capital penny that was passed. So that's something very positive. as it relates to the fireworks, ordinance. There are 7 different districts in our county. Our county is very diverse. I mean, there's different parts of the county that certain things won't affect at all. This fireworks ordinance may not affect 60% of this county. You don't have, livestock housed right next to you, things like that. But where you do, you are impacting negatively and positively somebody's life directly when your actions have an impact on your neighbor. And I live in an area where there is a lot of agriculture as well, and people have livelihoods in agriculture, and they house livestock that are sensitive to those loud noises. And especially, like the sheriff said, if someone had been in their area for generations, raising livestock and doing things, and then there was a sale of a piece of land and a development comes up, just for the fact that somebody has the right to do something, if it's harming somebody that's been there, I feel it on me to protect the people in my district. And if it doesn't affect somebody, they won't complain. So there might be things, fireworks are shot and there's no complaint. Maybe there's no animals there, they don't get impacted, but there'll be somebody who sees a disparate impact, and they have the right to have some recourse to prevent that from happening. So I don't think it's preventing anybody from having rights. I think it's being a good citizen and being mindful of the things that we do have impacts on others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, one thing I want to say, I see several of our newly elected council members here tonight. We had an election last week. We're excited to see those folks get installed. We welcome you to county council and look forward to seeing you serve your constituents and do things that benefit them and benefit this county as a whole. So thank you for coming tonight, and we look forward to serving with you soon. To echo a few comments on Veterans Day that several have mentioned. We had a great ceremony. I know he's not here, but Andy Howard, who's a Marine veteran himself, was the lead from the county on that project, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. I don't think there was anything they could have done different that would have made it better. And we are excited to use that property, not only for Veterans Day and Memorial Day and other celebrations, but also for students and families to go observe those monuments, for granddaddies to tell their grandkids stories about things they went through. History gets lost, but we don't tell it. And I hope that you'll take your kids and grandkids by there to, one, view it and experience it, and also to tell your stories. We are 6 weeks out of Hurricane Helene, roughly. I was looking at the numbers from the report today. So far, we've collected almost 500,000 pounds of limb debris, as well as almost 400,000 pounds of construction debris at the landfill. So I commend our folks out there for handling the increased capacity that they're not used to, especially this time of year. As we continue to clean up, they'll continue to get more and more. As I mentioned earlier, anybody that has a question on their tax bill, I'll be glad to answer it as best I can, or at least direct you in the right direction for that answer. Like the rest of my council members, I wish everybody an early Thanksgiving. We have a lot in this country to be thankful for that others don't. So we were blessed, and we're grateful for that, and I ask you to remember that as you spend time with whoever you spend time with. And for those of you that don't have to work on Thanksgiving, including our deputies, we appreciate y'all's service and foregoing time with your family to make sure we're all safe in our homes. So with that, that's all I have. We don't have any executive session, no other business. I'll the motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Rankin, second by Mr. Carroll. All those in favor?
Yes, sir.